patients are actually asking whether the quality of the medicine is robust. So it's coming, just like everything does in a legalized sense, because the changes have been mandated. Secondly, we are truly all in this together. It's not a separate entity. It's not just us as an air carrier that has to get it right. Right from production, from the moment the product is packed, the most critical point, what packaging solution is going to be chosen. It has to be the correct packaging solution, not just at origin, not just at transshipment, but also destination, last mile. So from GMP to GSP to GDP to the end patient, if any of us fail, and my definition of failure is a medicine is not released by a RP, responsible person, and administered to a patient. If that happens, we have failed. And I think medicines are too costly these days to ever get to that end point. This particular slide I never enjoy showing because people misinterpret it, but IATA, the governing body for airlines, reports that 57% of temperature excursions, when they do occur, this is the bit that I want to make the point, when they do occur at the airport. In IAG Cargo, we measure the number of consignments to the number of CAPAs, corrective action, preventative action, that we have to raise as a result of a deviation of the transportation temperature. And that currently runs at less than 0.6%. So just to put that into perspective, we're shipping close to 13,500 consignments a year with our product constant climate. Having said that, the complexities of the airport is what drives that risk. But nevertheless, 23% of excursions occur just getting to the airport. That's still very high. So from the moment it's packed in a production unit and transported to the airport, a fifth of medicines are at risk of excursions. And then finally, what is surprising is the last mile, which you would interpret normally as being the highest risk category. It's about 20%. We're also operating in a global environment. This is changing quite rapidly. We're seeing consolidation. We're certainly seeing increased competition. Even in the short time that I've been in this industry, in the cargo industry, from a previous 30-year career in the pharmaceutical industry, there's now, I believe, something like 34, 35 air carriers who claim to be able to provide a time and temperature sensitive service across their networks. I personally, for what it's worth, as a contentious comment, I think there's probably less than 10 of us who do top lead. I think a lot of people claim they have a network, but they have inconsistencies across that network. Patents expiring, that's good for India, Asia, powerhouse of generics. Also high-end generics now with biologicals that need finer temperature control. Technology changes. Those technology changes, be the big data analytics that's driving supply chain inventory and balancing that out, to track and trace technology. Wouldn't it have been nice if all of those technology companies had gone to the likes of Boeing and the likes of Airbus and had full testing across both those aircraft fleets, and then come to the airlines to say we have clearance and certification, but all the technologies we're offering to this market now do not in any way interfere with the avionics of an aircraft. Now, none of us want to sit on an aircraft as a passenger knowing that the avionics could be disturbed or interfered in any way. Sadly, we all do that because I don't think anybody flies these days without knowing there's mobile phones on the planes that shouldn't be necessarily, laptops, etc., etc. So we know the risks. I personally support these technology changes. In British Airways, for example, it takes us something between 6 and 9 months to fully test a new technology, because we do that across our aircraft fleet. We do it actually on the airplane. We don't just take a dossier and a technical report of 200 pages, give it to our engineers and say, what do you think? We actually put it on the aircraft to test. Increase the new regulatory guidance. That's really changed the way that we are approaching the supply chain now when it comes to temperature management, and I'll say a little bit more about that. The good news is we're all getting and living older, thanks to the pharmaceutical industry. The incidence of diabetes continues to increase at an alarming rate, 12% per annum still. That's driving the likes of insulin demand. And oncology in particular, more government funding is now going into cancer and cancer treatments, and that tends to be more personalised medicines that are very sensitive to temperature, the large molecule type medicines. However, I think in September last year, when the EU GDP guidelines became mandated, This was the 343, 8th of September within the European Union. This was a fundamental shift of legislation, so much so that it surprised a lot of people. The governing body and the regulators that put this regulation together didn't comprise just EU regulators, they also consisted of US regulators. But I just want to say the required storage conditions for medical products should be maintained during transportation within the defined limits as defined by, has to be substantiated. That means that any inspectorate can come and check those records. And if people think the inspectorates aren't serious, in the first 3 months in the UK, the Medicines and Health Regulatory Authority, the MHRA, underwent 92 inspections. Quite surprising. So, it's not a piece of legislation that people are going to ignore, because they shouldn't ignore it, because it is going to be mandated. Bottom left there, you can see on the slide, Chapter 17, IATA Chapter 17 is the perishable cargo regulations. That's the set of guidelines and rules that we have to adhere to as an air carrier. Having said that, we fully embrace the GDP guidelines.